Hi there, we're going to look at expanding double brackets today. This is a relatively straightforward technique, and again, for most of you out there, you'll have done this in lesson or class time, and various different techniques involved. So I'm going to go through the ones that I know. Your teacher might have different methods, they might have different words, but ultimately it should always be the same kind of outcome. All right, so expanding double brackets, not to be confused with two brackets. Double brackets means they're side by side, all right, with no kind of a plus or minus sign in the middle of it. We're talking specifically two brackets times together, all right. So something looking a little bit like this. So you've got a plus 5 and a plus 2, and so slightly using different letters than x's. It's quite nice to do something different. But the method is very much the same. All right, so when we're expanding a double bracket, it's important to remember that we're going to times both these two by both these two. So we're looking at basically 4 combinations, really. So how you do this is completely up to you. Some people call it a FOIL method, some people call it a smiley face. It doesn't really matter what you want to call it. It's about having a very, very clear approach to making sure that you multiply them all out correctly. All right, so I call it a smiley face. You don't have to. You choose whatever you want to do. But what I kind of start with doing is times the first two values together first. All right. So a times a. All right. Well, a times a is a squared. All right. So that's my first value. And then I'll do the next two underneath it. So that's the a and the 2. All right. So that's 2a at the bottom over there. So I can put on the left hand side there. So a times 2 is 2a. And then we're going to do the next one. So we're going to do the 5 times the a at the bottom there, which is going to give you 5a, which is this one over here. And then finally, one that's missing is the 5 times the 2, and on the top there, which is going to give you 10. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, like I said, 4 combinations of different things. All right, the reason I call it smiley face is you've got obviously those 2 bits over there, looks like a nose and looks like a smile. Or maybe you see it, maybe you don't. It's up to you, all right? But that's where I kind of look at it, all right? So that times that, that times that, that times that, that times that, giving me that kind of shape, and then giving me the 4 things that I need. A squared, 2a, 5a, and 10a, all right, 4 things. And you'll notice I read it that way around, where you've got a squared first, and then the a's in the middle and the number at the end, because when we're looking at quadratics, that tends to be what you get. You have something squared, a number times a letter, and then a number at the end, all right? So x squared, plus 7a plus 10, for example, but obviously we're now looking at a specifically. And also, you'll notice, again, because these two are both values of a, we can bring those two together and simplify it. So we have a squared plus 7a plus 10, all right? Now, there's also a quick way of looking at it, and so as you get more experienced in it, you might be able to see how to get from here to here. But obviously, what we're really after is making sure that we have a foolproof method to make sure we don't make mistakes. All right, so we can't afford those in exams. So there we go. So that's what we need to write down, and of course our solution. All right, let's look at another example that involves a negative, because again, sometimes that could cause a problem. But the methods, again, should be exactly the same. All right, so let's have a look in terms of doing that one. So we've got x plus 3 and x minus 7. So we're going to do x times the x, which is going to give us x squared. We're going to do the x times the 7, blew it off the line a little bit, which is going to be a minus 7x, so be careful with that one. And then you've got the little bit underneath, and again, that's plus 3 times x, so that's plus 3x. And then finally, you've got plus 3 times minus 7, and again, I'm saying minus 7 like that just because you recognise it's a positive times a negative, which is going to give me minus 21. So if you're, again, this kind of goes back to a little bit of expectation that you're aware of how to multiply positive and negative numbers. You need to be clear on those rules, all right? So just a kind of a quick recap. If the signs are the same, then it's going to give me a positive answer, all right? If the signs are different, and like we had here, you had a plus 3 and a minus 7, then I get a minus at the end. And similarly over here, I have minus 7 times plus x, which gives me minus 7. So just to recap, if the signs are different, it gives me a negative. If the signs are the same, it's going to give me a positive. All right, so I end up with this. So for last step is we need to simplify. So we've got minus 7x and plus 3x, which gives us minus 4x, and that's going to be my solution. Again, you'll notice and you'll start used to the idea of saying spotting this look of quadratics. So something squared, something x, and a number. All right, that's pretty typical. Then we've got time to vote for one more. So why is this different? Well, I've got 3. You know, that makes it different, and then I'm dealing with 2 negatives this time around. So you'll notice the methods are always the same, But what you'll keep your eye out is the negatives and the numbers, and then just being careful when timesing it all out, because again, in the exam, you can't afford to be making these little mistakes, right? Especially if you know the method, all right, which of course you now do. So let's have a look. So two brackets next to each other. So sticking to what we did before, so we're going to do with 3x times the x. All right, so 3x times the x is 3x squared. Then we're going to do the one at the bottom. So 3x times the minus 2. 3x times minus 2, so minus 6x. Again, watching for the negative. We're then going to do these two, which is minus 1 times x, which will be minus 1x. So what's happened there? Got up. And then finally, the other one, and again, this is where you've got to be careful. A minus times a minus is a positive, so that's going to give me plus 2. All right. Don't have to write it up like that. But of course, we do need to kind of simplify this a little bit underneath here, over here, because we've got minus 6x and minus another x, going to give me minus 7x. All right, so 3x squared minus 7x plus 2. So that's expanding double brackets, okay? I'm just going to show you another little way of doing it, all right? And again, it just really depends on what you prefer. Now, that's one I've just shown you is the one I prefer, but I know that some people from primary school, where they may have been taught the grid method or some other aspects of doing it, then it's the same approach to kind of doing something like this. You split it up into its 4 components and you make a grid out of it, all right? So you split x plus 2 over here, so you've got x plus 2 and x minus 5, and you put those into a grid. So you've got x plus 2 and x minus 5, all right? And the reason I think some people go for this method is it just supports the idea of when you're timesing the things out, knowing that you're going to get 1, 2, 3, 4 outcomes, all right? Well, when we do the grid method, obviously we're looking at filling each box in. So we'll start with the one here, which is x times x, which is x squared. And then we're going to look at the next one over here, which is 2 times x, and of course it's plus 2x. You notice the sign goes in with it. Then we're going to do the minus 5 times the x, which is going to give you minus 5x. And then of course finally this one over here, it's minus 5 times plus 2, so positive times negative, signs are different, so it's minus. And then we write the whole lot out, so x squared plus 2x minus 5x minus 10. And of course we look to simplify the 2x minus 5x, which will give you minus 3x. All right, and that's our solution. All right, so it's a similar approach to last time. It's just how it's written out. All right, and it's your choice. No one's going to kind of penalise you in the exam for doing it in either way. My preferred method is the first one, but I know some people like this grid method. And it's just kind of give a visual representation of it. All right, but the method is very much the same. All right, if you need practice, as always, link is at the bottom. So maths-school.co.uk. Get yourself on board, get practiced, and thanks for listening.